Woo! Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know why I'm so excited.
Look, season 1 was fun, but season 2, we brand new.
No, we are bringing some really great, amazing conversation. But please, if you are listening to this right now, you are driving, you about to take a shower, you're in the bathroom, yo, subscribe.
Please.
We're trying to get all our subscribers, but we have some amazing educators in the building.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
Let's get to that. We got an amazing guest.
Shanique.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
This
I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yo,
I don't
how
mean
you want to
to-
interrupt
No.
it?
This
But you-
guy, this
Anthony,
guy,
you do
this
this
guy.
every time,
all the
boy.
time.
What do I do now?
You do this every
I
time.
be black?
You know I got
I'm black excellence?
Hold on,
No, I
hold on.
got
How many episodes we done so far already?
No, we done did this.
And we-
11, 12. But Anthony.
I'm gonna get it better for season 3.
Okay, I hope.
So we got a whole nother
hope-
like season.
We gotta wait.
I got an IEP. Sorry.
Anthony, you know we gotta pray first.
All right, my fault.
You know
my
that.
God.
Let's
Go ahead.
get to it. Let everybody bow your heads. God, we thank you for this second amazing season. We pray
Yes.
for all of our listeners that tuned in to hear us, God. We pray that you continue to elevate this platform. And we always want to dedicate every episode to you by having prayer in this moment, God. Thank you for the subject matter that we will be speaking on about education. And God, just be with us as we speak about it. And thank you so much for our lovely guests. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Welcome to Top Shelf, where we seek truth
Opinion.
Perspective.
and we seek solutions.
A lovely guest. Homeowner. My new bestie.
Ooh, is that right?
Yo, can grown men say bestie?
I
Cause
mean,
Jeff, you
it depends on how you say it.
You my bestie.
yeah, see, that's cool the way you said it. But if you like, you my bestie. Like,
It's
too
about the
much.
tone, like
Too much, the tone.
the tone. All right, so you gotta be like, yo, you my bestie.
Right. Or you can be like, you my, or you my nigga.
Oh, you my nigga.
I was gonna say I prefer that.
Yeah. Somebody had to say it.
Yeah. You my nigga.
But
Yeah, that's it.
we have guests,
Right.
and she is an amazing individual.
Thank you.
Look at her, Shanique,
Miss
Hi.
Shanique.
Miss Shanique, the
Wagwan.
oxtail friend.
Oh, Wagwan. Medea.
Oh,
Can
man.
you tell us about you, who you are?
Who beat?
Shout yourself out,
Okay.
you beautiful black woman.
Not too much. Your wife is
Oh yeah. She's the first beautiful black woman.
There you go.
My honey bun,
Ooh,
50 cents.
35.
Thank you
35.
guys for having me.
Yes.
I am Shanique, a Jamaican native. Bop, bop, bop. Educator, leader, writer, doctoral candidate.
No. Say that out loud.
People
I'm
in the
an
back.
educator,
Ooh.
leader,
Ooh.
writer, doctoral candidate,
Ooh.
and a visionary with a creative
rich
mindset.
auntie.
Blah, 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 blah.
Rich auntie.
Wait.
All right.
Fire.
Love it. So much energy. I love it.
So we have a conversation, and as an educator, but it's going down.
Right.
This year is going down, and we want to talk about education.
Mhm.
That's been on our heart from season 1, and we said to ourselves, who will be an amazing person to talk about education? And we thought about you.
Thank you.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Pull up a chair. Let's have a conversation. So, how do you feel about education? And why did you want to become an educator?
That's a good question.
I try.
I feel like education is very important. If there's no teachers, there wouldn't be any doctors, lawyers, administrators, anyone. Like teachers are the first person or profession, I should say, in this earth that was created to create other professions. So it's needed. It's vital. How do I feel about it? I just feel like it's important. Why I chose education, honestly, so it's a long story. So my 5th grade teacher is the reason why I'm here. I remember having classes with her and just seeing how she cared for the kids and how she cared about me personally outside of the classroom. Like she cared beyond how well am I learning. She cared for my social needs, my personal needs. And at the time, my mom, as an immigrant woman, she's working like 2 jobs. So she's not around as much as possible. So she was like a second mom to me. So shout out to Miss Sutton, my 5th grade teacher. And everything she did in life, I wanted to do. She's an educator. She went to a HBCU. I did. She pledged and everything. And I tried to follow her in her footsteps. So she's really like the catalyst for why I'm here today.
Wow. Which HBCU? You want to shout it out?
Shout out to the illustrious Virginia State University.
Woo!
Did you go to HBCU, bro?
No, I went home. Home State University. You know what I'm saying? Mom's is my main teacher. You know what I'm saying? Home State. HU.
Yo, low key, I really wanted to go to HBCU.
Yeah, I did. I did too.
I would go to Howard. I would study African American studies.
I wanted to go to Morehouse, man.
Really?
Yeah, after watching a Different World, man. Just the feel of it.
Yeah.
The feel of it. Just
it's very different. I think a lot of people have a negative connotation of HBCUs when it comes to, oh, you're just around Black people, so it's not preparing you for the real world, which is not true. Like there's different types of Black people.
Come on.
And the thing about going to HBCU, it really opens you up to the African diaspora. So you like really learn about you really learn about like what did our people go through? What did our ancestors have to deal with to pave the way for us today?
And it's so crazy because I'm just learning about that now in my adult life and journey is like, and it's a shame that there was like this one type of history that we learned. And now it's like expanded. And these kids now these days, they get it all. They actually get it all. They don't have to go far. They can just Google.
Alexa?
Exactly.
Right. We had to go dig in, and the lies that were told and everything is just, you learn at a HBCU. Like my freshman year was the year when Trayvon Martin murder verdict was given. And for me as an immigrant child coming from the Caribbean islands, I didn't understand like why people felt the way they felt, like why Black Americans felt the way they felt about America. And then like seeing everyone on campus actually like marched like with hoodies on, like we're not going to class. We're just going to march on the yard and like show that this is not fair. Like this is not okay. And I got really emotional. I was like, now I'm starting to understand why Blacks feel the way they feel in this country.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like as an educator, you teaching it, but also as an educator, your students understand why you are so passionate in regards to social justice?
That's a great question. Again. Because my upcoming role this year as a teacher is actually a role that I'm pioneering. It's a social justice teacher. So my current principal is allowing me to create a critical race theory class or course. Right.
Ooh,
at an elementary level, which is
elementary.
Yeah, which is so cool to me because it's like right. We're like trying to teach kids about the now. Right. So much things are happening in terms of like social justice and things that are not okay in this country. So we're trying to teach them now, like what is happening around us, trying to make them aware of the negative things and how we can deconstruct and become remarginalized and not be put down because we're Black. Right. So for me, I think kids are learning. They see it. I think this year with the racial pandemic or 2020 really highlighted how kids see America. Like, they've seen America, but now it's just like, okay, something's wrong with this country. Like they don't have to go digging for it. It's like in their face, it's around them, it's in their communities. So for me, I think they're getting to learn it. Like they may not know it yet, but they're learning it.
2 questions I have in my head. What language, if I'm a parent, how do I teach that? So it can be a part of the diaspora. Like I pronounced it right. The diaspora of my home. So when you come into the classroom, it's second nature. So it's a part of their environment.
Right. I would say just having that open conversation. If your child comes up to you and say, hey, mom, hey, dad, grandma, uncle, whoever, I've seen someone got shot on the news, or I've seen like a really negative story about a Black girl or a Black boy, I don't think you should like push it off and be like, oh, it's just the news. I think you should open up space to have that conversation where you're teaching kids like, you got to have the talk. Like I know most Black men in America have the talk with their sons. Like you have to just tell them what it is. Like this is what it is. The country was built on lies, or people are like white people are superior. So they see us as inferior, Black people or minorities as inferior. So like creating space to let them know that that's just how America is. And we're hoping for change and we want change, but that's just the reality we face now. So just make room for that. Don't shut it off and put it to the side. Allow that conversation to happen organically.
Awesome. I just think about the parallels because when I was in elementary school, I think the OJ trial was going on, and also the riots in LA with Rodney King. And I just wish I would have had someone to have that class with me, to be able to sit down with me and say, hey, this is what's going on in this part of the world and what that means for Black people. I really wish I would have had somebody in my corner to be able to, a teacher, and I didn't.
Yeah. And that's good because like, I feel like as things are changing now, education is becoming more progressive. So they're making room to have that conversation. Like now they're putting it in the classroom. As early as kindergarten, they're learning about civil rights movement. They're learning about like Jim Crow laws. Like it's not pushed to the side anymore, especially urban communities. Like they're making space to put that in a curriculum. So that's good. Yeah.
You don't think it's hard for like kindergarten, first grade? Well, it's hard for me. So I want to be transparent. It is hard for me to understand and how to teach it. And I was talking to my wife. I was like, I want to understand how to teach it, and from a kindergarten, a K2 level. But it's like, how do they comprehend that type of conversation? Where do you start?
I would start with identity. I taught first grade for 4 years, and kids like see each other's skin tone, and they're being taught, oh, you're lighter than me, so you're more privileged. So they have that understanding of skin tone. So I would start with identity. Like, who are you on the inside, not the outside? Because teaching in a minority school district, I've learned that some Black kids see Hispanic students as white because their skin is lighter. So I remember teaching with a former co-teacher, Miss Powell, and we sat the kids down in a circle and we really talked about identity. Like we really broke down, what does it mean to be Black in America? What does it mean to be Latina or Hispanic in America? And we start that way. We start about who we are. We talk about like the interperson. So who are you on the inside, and then who are you on the outside, and how can you be perceived? So I would start with identity.
Wow.
They get it. Kindergarten get it. First
I just wish I had it. I really wish I had those courses. I'm going into my high school experience, and there was a time where I wanted to take a course in Black history, and I was actually blocked by one of my teachers to take it. Like, and this is a white teacher, a white lady,
of course,
and she blocked me from taking it because she was like, "Well, that's not." And I was like, I know this is not, I wanted to take it as like an extracurricular. And she blocked me from taking it because she's like, oh, okay, but our school was broken down into communities. So if you were in global communications, which I was in, you couldn't go out of your community, and which is crazy. As I'm thinking of it, you couldn't go out of your community and take that class with a Black teacher that I had.
Wow.
And so I wasn't able to take a African-American studies class. And I think back to that and I'm like, but this is what we need to be getting to. This is American history. Right. This is part of what we should be learning, because none of this should be separate. Everybody should be learning about this history, right?
I have a question
thank
for
you
you
for being there in the space to be teaching kids like this.
I have a question for you. Was your school district predominantly white?
So I was in the Midwest. No, we were actually, I want to say it was mostly black and Hispanic. It was Mexican and Black.
Okay.
Mostly. It was probably like more Mexican than anything. It was probably like Probably 60% Hispanic, and then as far as Black, it was probably like 40. The other 40.
Yeah, no, I asked that question because a recent study I did was actually around why there's no African American curriculum or culture responsive teaching, we would say, in white school districts. And after doing that research, I found out white teachers are actually not comfortable teaching about the Black history, as well as like, and I feel like that creates space for white people to be unconsciously biased and racist. So during this study, I had the chance to really interview a former co-teacher. She's white. And I really learned about her childhood. Like I took time to explore like who she is as a person, her identity. And the findings were, it all stems in the school system. Like she's the way she is because they failed her. Like she's from upstate New York, and she mentioned like coming to the inner city of New York City in Brooklyn, she became like culture shock. She wasn't aware of like Black people. She wasn't aware of like what it means to just walk the street as a Black man. And it all stems from her school system. Like teachers didn't teach her about anything. She didn't even know Jim Crow. All she knew was Martin Luther King Jr., the typical.
Wow.
And I commend her for like wanting to do the work as a white woman in America, as well as like advocating. She went back to her school district and actually called them out. Like, you guys need to stand with the Black Lives Matter movement and put in the school system the truth.
I just realized, Shanique, all my teachers were mostly white. All my teachers were mostly white.
Yeah.
I literally didn't have, I had probably 2 or 3 Black teachers in my school. And those were the ones that took time aside and said, hey, do you know who Lewis Latimer is? Hey, do you know who Garrett A. Morgan is? Like, do you know these people?
Right.
Do you think Brown versus Board of Education was the worst thing that happened to the Black education system?
Now you got me thinking. No. I believe everything happened from a reason. But everything happened for a particular reason. Just thinking back from like my Christian side, like everything happens for a reason. I don't think it taints or change anything in the school system.
Yeah.
It was meant to happen.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a question because this is something I was doing the research. And I was talking to some like 8th graders, high school students, and they told me, they said the education system failed them. They're literally 9th graders, 8th graders, and 10th graders. And he said, like, 1, there's nothing that talks about me. 2, I'm just talking about math and ELA, but there's nothing for me. So at this moment, education has failed me. And they realize it at that age. How do we begin to have conversations, critical theories or social emotional, but how do we allow it to be a part of their environment?
I would say math and ELA is important. And as teachers or educators, I would charge everyone to think about how can you get the kids to apply this to the real world. So whenever I do a math lesson, I always ask, okay, how can adding and subtracting help us? And then I'll try to apply it to understanding money. Now that's where you can like tie in finances.
Absolutely.
And you could teach kids the nuggets.
Literacy.
Right. You could teach kids the nuggets that we didn't learn, like credit, how to build upon yourself, like communal capital and things of that nature.
Love it.
So I can add that as well as like ELA. ELA is very open. You can just make it like an open conversation. Like how can this book ties to our lives, or like what experiences can we pull from the author's craft move and tie to our lives, So I can see why kids say the system failed them. I think the next generation and the generation that's present in school, they want the now. Like they're competing with social media.
Absolutely.
Like we didn't have that. So I didn't think to like look on Instagram and say like, how can I build credit, or how can I invest in stocks? And they're not putting that in school systems. So like I would even charge district leaders and principals to like rethink the curriculum. Maybe it is time for us to start teaching financial literacy, or start putting in the school system how to own a home. Like, I shouldn't have to fight to figure it out. Because
Mhm.
more than likely, their parents, the kids who are currently in school,
Mhm.
are still coming up. They're still learning themselves. They're still trying to figure out how to go about life. So they're
Right.
learning from home, and home is not really giving as much. So I think it's time to embed those things into the curriculum.
Mm. That's the sort of thing that makes me kind of jealous, because I'm like, man, we didn't even, we literally were in a classroom and it'd be like 35 students and it'll be like one book. We got one book, the district that I was in, and because I went to public school, so it's like, I'm like, man, all of our materials were really limited. But not only that, they weren't teaching things that could help us. They felt like, hey, you'll learn this in college. You know what I'm saying? Entrepreneurship, like things that we really wanted to learn, economics. Because like I had an economics class, but it wasn't realistic. You know, it's like, hey, if you have $5,000 for the week, how do you stretch this $5,000? I was like, what if you don't have $5,000? What if you got 100? You know what I'm saying?
Start with 100.
And we were talking in terms of living in the Midwest, but when you come to the East Coast, New York, it's a whole different ball game. Me adjusting to that mindset, like that rent is this is like, this bill is this here. That's a whole like different mindset. And I feel like classes really need to teach that at the youngest age. Like my nephew, Kai, shout out to Kai, he's in a coding class. And I'm like, these kids are learning how to code at this age. And I'm like, I love that for them, because it's the earlier the better. Like they can reach in different bags and do all these different things, and they'll be raised up to do it.
Jeff, how was your educational?
How was my education growing up?
Growing up.
I mean, very similar to what Fred was saying, like predominantly white teachers, just basic curriculum, math, science. There wasn't anything that actually spoke to how to prepare for real life. So I love what Shanique was saying and mentioning that if they added that part of the curriculum as far as how to build credit, buy a home, you know, a lot of those different things, I think, and this will be my question to Shanique, do you think that'll help break the generational curse?
Absolutely.
By teaching that at a young age, where, because parents are figuring it out, you know, like my parents, you know, they came from Haiti, and, you know, it's not like they knew how to do certain things. You know, a lot of times if your parents come from like West Indian background or comes from like, you know, let's say just a different country in general, they come here for a better opportunity, right? You think of America, you're thinking of the land of opportunity, but they come here to work. So they're here working. And they're not necessarily, they're trying to figure out. So it's not like they could teach us while they're trying to figure it out.
Right.
So you have some that stays within that matrix, I guess you can say, where like they're kind of stuck in poverty and don't know how to buy a home, don't know the importance of credit, don't know how to build wealth or start your own business and the LLCs and, you know, all those different things. So I think that if we teach that at a young age, as far as adding that part of the curriculum, because let's be honest, we can't always depend on the parents because they may not know.
Yeah.
Right.
And as I'm assuming as an educator that you've probably dealt with parents who not always there.
Right.
You know, parent teacher conferences and things like that. So I think it would help, just like we learn about science. We learn how to, you know, 1 + 1 = 2, you know, 2 + 2 = 4. And we're learning about Christopher Columbus, you know, and you know, yeah, that's a different conversation. But we're learning about, you know, like, you know, the forefathers of this country, you know, George Washington and, you know, and Andrew Jackson and all that stuff. But we're not necessarily learning about our history, and we're also not learning how to prepare for the world.
Right.
Do you think that's a reason why we're not learning about our history?
Because I truly believe America took their curriculum from the Europeans. There's a lot of research around Eurocentric curriculum and what they believe. So when you think about like those old philosophers, like the founding fathers of like Columbia University and Harvard University, they believed in the Eurocentric curriculum. Like, this is just how school should go, and that's it. Like there's no progressiveness, there's no reformment. It's just transitional and that's it. But to go back to Jeff's question about generational wealth, I think it takes two, the teachers and the parents. Thankfully, the generation that have kids in school now are millennials. So they are learning about generational wealth. They're learning about building the LLCs and owning deeds and having titles and ownership of different things. So I really believe that it takes the parents as well. You want to set your kids up. Like I can stand in front of the classroom and teach you about life insurance policy or like credit or the importance of different tax buckets. But what are the parents doing to make sure that is continued within the home?
That's an excellent segue to my question is about how do you feel like dealing with the parents, like in your day, like in terms of like watching how parent teacher conferences are operated and looking at it now, like how do you feel there's a difference in terms of the interaction between parent and child now as opposed to like when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, when I was growing up, I believe like the teachers didn't extend themselves to parents. Like I remember parent teacher conference night wasn't individual slots. It was like you just show up, you pick up your child's report card. If you have questions, the teacher's like in the side of the classroom. Like that's just how I remember it. Or they would just mail home your report card. Yeah. I don't remember like my mom showing up and sitting down and having a conversation with my teacher about my needs and wants and like how to move forward in the classroom. But now, if you're in a charter network, it's extensive. Like you have to carve out individual time. Like report card night will be from 1 in the afternoon to 7 at night. And each parent have like a 20-minute slot to sit down with the teacher and really talk about what is my child doing in class and like, how can I help them? How can I support them? So I would say now there's much more support. Like teachers are lending themselves to parents now versus when I was in school in the early 2000s. So it's different. Yeah.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Cause I think about the problem solving too, from the parents to the students. Like I remember getting a note pen to me if there's a problem or issue with something when I was in grade school, or like there was never that. It wasn't long. Like they would sit with the teacher and be like my mom would look her in the eye. She would look and the teacher would look her in the eye and they'd be like, listen, your son ain't got it all. You know what I'm saying?
And then provide no support.
Fred, you talk about yourself?
Yeah. I don't understand why he don't go to the chalkboard. No, I'm kidding. That was only in math class. but it wasn't. It was like a brief exchange, and now I see like my friends who are parents. They like have apps now where they can talk to the teachers and stuff like that, and that's so cool that they can be that connected with the teachers.
Yeah, it's very different. And teachers are like, there's more demand on teacher and parent relationship, especially since the pandemic. Like, it's like my classroom is in each kid's home. And parents are realizing like, I have to have a partnership with my child's teacher to understand how school works. Before it's just like, all right, I send you off, I drop you off. Whatever report I get is whatever report I get. But now parents are seeing how teachers operate. They're seeing the work that we have to do. They're seeing the stress that we may go through. They're seeing different side of the teaching profession. Absolutely. I would say in the beginning of the pandemic, like starting teaching parents were so appreciative. But as time went on, it's just like, all right, like I know what you do now, pretty much. But they're starting to see the importance of parent partnership.
That's an excellent segue to the next question. Basically, thank you for setting me up. What has been your favorite thing about teaching in the pandemic? And I know that question is an oxymoron, kind of.
Yeah.
But if there's one favorite thing, what has it been?
Honestly, I'm going to speak from a teacher perspective. It felt good to sleep in and not having to commute to work. And just having to worry about turning on my computer.
I'll pay tolls.
Starting no tolls. Starting school. as well as just having like time to really eat my lunch. I feel like being in a school building, kids are like in your face, in your classroom.
Right.
Sometimes you got to hold kids back to do makeup work. It's just like really no self-time.
Right.
And another thing I would say the best part of being an educator during the pandemic is leaving work at work. Like usually I take home my classroom, but once I close that computer,
It's done.
that's it. That's it. So it had some perks.
I love that. Leaving work at work. But do you feel a stress that like now your work is at home? Like you teaching, like your home is your classroom.
Oh, good question.
Yeah. In the beginning, yes. But then I learned boundaries. I learned when to literally close the computer, not respond to parents' text messages because they will text you at 10 o'clock at night.
Woo.
So creating those boundaries, that's one tip I would give an educator who's struggling with teaching at home. Like create that boundary, really give yourself a schedule, and use your planning time. Don't just let it be like, oh, I'm at home during my planning period. I'm going to go chill on the couch and watch TV. Like, no, act as if you were in your classroom, sit at your desk and just plan whatever you need to plan. So when school is out or school is done, you're done teaching, you literally can close the computer and leave work at work. Yeah.
Do you think we should keep virtual learning?
No. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think blending is good, like on hybrid. I would leave hybrid out there, but fully remote, no, because it doesn't work for kids. In my opinion, from my experiences and observation, it doesn't work for kids, especially as low as the elementary level. Like when you think about teaching phonics and teaching sounds, like that feedback on Zoom, it's like small things that doesn't allow it to be as impactful. I would say if they strengthen like Zoom and other ways to meet kids online, then yes. But as of right now, no. From an early learner standpoint, like phonemic awareness is very important. And you need to see the teacher lips moving and the sounds coming out of the teacher's mouth to understand how to read. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you feel like that's a like kids get distracted? Virtual learning?
Absolutely. And then parents are in your classroom. Like they'll come over you and ask a question. And I'm like, ma'am, there's like 30 other kids on the screen. It's not
Hello. Can you hear me?
Right.
My son said this. You didn't hear him?
Rashawn, you know this.
Yo, did you see any kids get beat on?
I cannot disclose that information.
So with your wealth of knowledge, with your research, with your degrees out the woodwork, do you think you should get paid more?
Absolutely. I should get more money than an open heart surgeon.
Come on.
Seriously.
You better
because
look.
that's the level of intense we bring to work. The decisions that teachers have to make in a split of a moment, or small things. Like a teacher is not just a teacher. I'm not just teaching you how to do things. I'm also like nursing you, counseling you, caring for you. It's a hard job. Absolutely. It's a very emotional job. You get tied to the kids. You get tied to the parents. Mm-hmm. And it's beyond just the parents, like admin, what's required of you to do. It's a lot. So we need to be paid more. If any political educators listening out there, look up how much Finland teachers get paid. That's how much we should be getting paid.
Ooh, I'm about to look at that too. And you talked about admin. Why are there not a lot of Black males as admin? Good question again.
That really is. I would play advocate and say that it's a personal reason.
Okay.
Devil's advocate, I should say, because it's a personal reason. I think men or some educators that are male don't want to strive to go to that level. I noticed that female are more likely to become like principals and assistant deans or assistant principals. I think it's just a personal level, a personal interest. Yeah. Good question.
That's interesting.
Do you think there should be overall? Do you think there should be more males in a school environment?
Yeah, it makes a difference. My high school principal was a male, and we felt his presence. Black male. We felt his presence. We felt his difference.
Right.
He made the student body feel as if we're all one, we're all equal, we can strive together. Because I went to a school that was pretty diverse in terms of like knowledge. So the school had an IB program, it had a magnet program, and then it had a community program. So it had all level of mental ability, I should say, or educational ability, I should say. So it's either like you're super smart and you're taking AP courses, or like you need help, like you're an immigrant child and you literally just came from Jamaica or Haiti. So like there's different levels of classes required at that school, but he made everyone feel so different. So I would say, it feels the same. So I would say it's needed, and not just on the high school level. We need more males in elementary, teacher, admin, all of that.
When did you know your why?
When did I know it?
Yeah.
I will probably divert back to my 5th grade experience with Miss Sutton. I think at that
I need to get Miss Sutton on this podcast.
We can get her on there. Sutton Anderson, she got married. But she is my why. I think my why changed a bit when I was in high school. I thought about being a writer. I wanted to have my own column in a magazine. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to write in Fashion Magazine. I'm going to write in Ebony. I'm going to write in Essence. Like, this is what I want to do. But then I remembered, like, how it felt as a student and how I want the next student to feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was like my call, like not call, but like more of my why, like paying it forward.
I literally want to ask this question to the fellas. Like, what teacher impacted you to help you find your why? Like, to help you, like, push, like, catapulted you to your future? Do you have their name? Do you?
No, right now, Mr. Selfridge. He was my theater teacher.
Hey, fire!
Yeah, like, I tell this quick story. I was trying to play football, and I was on the field in high school. I was on the field. I did the stand, and they said, "Hut." Boop. I said, "To be or not to be."
This is not to be.
I went right to theater. So one thing, I do have a list, and when I was in high school, I used to be in the back of the class because I was scared, just to talk, just to have conversation. But when he introduced me to Raising in the Sun, I began to realize, wow, I do have a voice.
Absolutely.
I am a voice. And it just allowed me to just flourish. I was like the top actor and all this stuff in high school, but it was more of like, he allowed me to see my voice. That's so good. I would say Mr. Selfridge.
Come on.
What about you, Jeff?
Cephas Thomas is his name. He was from Trinidad. He was my science teacher. And I remember with him, we didn't get along in the beginning at all. He gave me like a really, really hard time. In the beginning, I couldn't really understand why. And he would just kind of like, he would just pick on me. Not pick on me as far as, he would just pick on me. And so I remember one day I got to class, I might have been like a minute late, right? And he closed the door, he locked it, wouldn't let me in. So I'm banging on the door. And then he finally let me in. He's like, "You can't come in." I was like, why are you bugging? Like, what's your problem? So we kind of bump heads there, and he told me to just go to the principal's office or whatever. So I went, sent me right back to class, and he gave me detention. And so I had detention, and this is where we connected. This was like kind of like where everything kind of just changed. And he had a conversation and he was like, "Do you know why I'm tough on you?" He's like, "Because out of anybody in the classroom, you're the one that I see that has the most potential. And you remind me of my son, especially as a young Black boy who's going to become a young Black man. I want to see excellence to come out of you. And I see you kind of like wasting it away because I hate science. Science was my least favorite subject. And so I didn't really have I came into that class half-assed to keep it a buck. But he saw that, but he saw the potential in me. And so he pushed me. And after that, like I adored and admired him for that because he took the time and we actually build from that point. And he made sure not only with that class, every other class that I had that I was giving in my A game. And I remember when I graduated, he congratulated me and he told me how proud he was of me. And he was like, this is what I want to see come out of you. And I want to make sure that you become the best version of you. And you are a representative of what I see and envision what a Black man should be in America.
Oh, that's fire. For me, it would be, I have 2 teachers. One from middle school was Miss Drew. And I say that because she used to fail me. It was for speech class, right? Mm-hmm. Y'all probably won't believe this, but I used to have a fear of getting up in front of people. And I was like this shy kid, and I was like, I don't want to get up in front of anybody. It was a fear of getting up and reading a speech. So, because I used to always think that people were going to mock me, laugh at me, whatever. All those fears. If something was going wrong, I was going to mispronounce a word, whatever. And Miss Drew was like, Fred, listen, I'm a failure. I'm like, that's okay. That's cool. Do what you got to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do. And then she's like, it's one thing to write the speech, but she's like, to perform the speech is a different thing. I'm teaching you something for life that you're going to use. And I thank Miss Drew for it, because look where I am. So, and I'm confident when I speak. So it's like, she was like, she had the last straw. She was like, Fred, you going to get up there or you're going to repeat 7th grade. I said, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my mama. And so, but I wound up getting up there, and I was stuttering, and it went bad. It went real bad. And I wound up like running in the back of the classroom. And she was like, why I did that? Because that's the start. I didn't mean to embarrass you. It's not about embarrassing you. That's the start of just you getting up there. Like, it wasn't about only the grade, and I wasn't going to fail you and keep you behind. It was just about you getting up there. And this is the beginning of something that I see in you. So I was like, okay. Then Mr. Stamp was the second one, was 10th grade. He handed me a play, and it was Fences by August Wilson. And he was like, listen, this guy's very important in theater. Read this cover to cover. I could not put that play down. I had never experienced some writing that I really understood like that. Then he was like, here's another one, Raising in the Sun by Lorraine Hornsberry. Then he just kept giving me plays, and I'm reading these mugs like quick. And he was an actor himself. And he was like a mentor. He was like a father figure. He was all of those things. He taught me how to tie my first tie. And he just told me, he was like, you will get out of this how much you put into it. If you really want to be an actor, you will get out of it how much you put into it. And that stuck with me. If you settle for mediocre, you'll be mediocre.
Amen.
Yeah. And he was just literally the best teacher I've ever had. And that always stuck with me. And I to this day, man, shout out to Mr. Stamp.
After hearing everyone's like teacher or the person that pushed them to their why, it just made me think about the quote that says, kids will never remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So we all had that one teacher that allow us to feel the way we feel now in life, because they took that time to pour into us. They took that time to see us beyond just educating us, like see us as people. They saw our potential. They see us now. Like, your 7th grade teacher see you at where you're at now. My 5th grade teacher, she saw me where I'm at now. Like, till this day, she still like raves about me. Right now, she's an assistant principal. And when she run PDs on how to build relationship with students, she put my picture up there.
I love it.
She put the throwback of when we were in 5th grade. And then she'll put like my most recent graduation picture, which was my master's. And like, she's always telling me she's proud of me. And I was actually supposed to be a bridesmaid in her wedding, but then the pandemic hit. Like, we still have that connection. We still have that closeness.
Wow.
So, teachers are important. We literally bridge the gap of kids now and their future.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Another great episode. But we always want people to put their plugs in. Tell them what your IG, tell them what's next up for you. But you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Killed it.
So what's your IG? Let people follow you.
Yeah. So my IG is Shan is Unique, ShanisUnique. Shan is Unique. It's a little tricky. I also have my own blog.
Ooh,
I love
plug
that.
Plug that.
Creativity.
Plug it in.
ShaniqueCoombs.com. The blog is called Fulfilling the Desires of the Heart. It's all about inspiring women, especially of my age group, Black women, to go after the things that they desire in a faithful way.
And she has a book coming soon.
Stop lying to the people then.
But we thank you. We
Thank
thank
you.
you. We thank you. And once again, be given top shelf experience. Have a good one.